What's up, Planeswalkers? It's your boy K-Dog. Got another fun video for you guys. So I'm looking at a Jeskai creature, kind of an aggro list, if you will. Basically, I want to build around this card right here, Erratic Cyclops, 3 and red for a Cyclops Shaman, 0/8 with Trample. Whenever you cast an instant or a sorcery spell, Erratic Cyclops gets +X/+0 until end of turn, where X is that spell's converted mana cost. So, spoiler alert, we're not running instants or sorceries, at least not in the main deck. So this text is irrelevant. It's the fact that it has 8 toughness and trample. That's what we're trying to take advantage of. And there are some pretty sweet ways to deal with that in standard. Obviously we have Huatli. It's a 2 and a white for a 7 loyalty planeswalker, where each creature you control assigns combat damage equal to its toughness rather than its power. So right there. Our Erratic Cyclops at 4 mana becomes an 8/8 Trampler. And we can also -3 to gain life equal to the greatest toughness. So if it's the Cyclops out, then we just gain 8 life right there. So that's great against those aggro or mono red matchups. Another way we can take advantage of that is with this enchantment, High Alert, 1 white and blue. Each creature you control assigns combat damage equal to its toughness rather than its power. It also has the nice little upside of creatures you control can attack as though they didn't have Defender. So there were a couple of defenders that I was kind of considering for this list, but ultimately I decided on just trying to play creatures, because otherwise you're relying on High Alert, and that doesn't work with Huatli. Huatli just assigns damage based on toughness. That doesn't give our defenders the ability to attack. And same thing with Gauntlets of Light, which is our other enabler for our toughness centric deck. It's a 3 mana enchantment, 2 and white. Enchanted creature gets +0/+2 and assigns combat damage equal to its toughness rather than its power. And whenever it's relevant, we can pay 2 and white to untap this creature. So that way we can kind of attack in with maybe our Erratic Cyclops, trample over for a bunch of damage, untap it, and we have a nice 8 toughness defender back on defense. So that could come in handy in certain matchups. And some other toughness creatures here. We're going to start, let's go back to the 1-drop slot here. We got 4 Yoked Ox. It's a 0/4 for 1. So obviously not really great on the first couple turns, but it will kind of keep our opponent's aggressive creatures at bay with a 4 toughness. That's more than most decks can handle in the early turns. Same thing here with the Merfolk Secretkeeper, another 0/4 for 1. We're not going to be using this adventure side at all. We can just ignore that. 4 Daybreak Chaplains. It's a 1/3 lifelinker for 1 and a white. And once we start assigning combat damage based on its toughness, then 3 powered lifelink becomes pretty relevant. And Birth of Meletis. That's a nice saga here in 1 and a white. We get to search up for a plains, we get a 0/4 wall, and we get to gain a little bit of life. Fae of Wishes. Another card with adventure that we're just going to ignore. We're not using this sorcery side at all. We're just trying to play it as a 1/4 flyer for 2. So at least it has the 1 power that can start attacking in the air in the first couple turns while we're getting set up. And then once we get our High Alert, Huatli, things like that down, then all of a sudden it's a 4-powered flyer. So that's pretty sweet. For removal, we're going to be running 4 Conclave Tribunals. Just a nice way to tap down our defenders if we need to kind of keep filling up the board with creatures. And then we also have removal as well, or we can just hardcast this for 4 depending on the situation. And 1 Chemister's Insight, just since we are kind of an aggressive deck with a lot of cheaper spells, 1, 2, and 3, we want something kind of in the mid to late game where we can kind of refill our hand. We've got a bunch of creatures down that are kind of defending, keeping our opponent at bay, and we need to find our High Alert or Huatli, Conclave Tribunal, whatever the case may be. And this is just kind of a nice way to do that, especially with the jumpstart mechanic. And going over the deck here for the lands, 3 plains, 3 island, just the 1 mountain. All 4 Hallowed Fountain, just the 1 Temple of Enlightenment, 4 Steam Vents, 4 Sacred Foundry, 1 Temple of Triumph, and a couple of Fabled Passage for some extra fixing. So just the 23 lands we are trying to play aggressively. The Birth of Meletis will help get those land drops as well, so that's kind of 23.5 lands, if you will. And the sideboard's been kind of a work in progress, but here's where we're at so far. A couple of Disenchants for Embercleave and powerful enchantments, things like that. A couple Gideon's Triumphs, where our opponent has to sacrifice a creature, so it gets around hexproof. 3 Hushbringer, shuts down any enter the battlefield or even dying triggers. A couple Tomiks shuts down, obviously, Nissa. And then also these creatures have high toughness, so 1/2 lifelink flying and a 2/3 flying. So once we get our Huatli and high alert enabled, they'll basically be attacking for 2 and 3 in the air, so that's pretty sweet. A couple Aether Gust to deal with any powerful red or green spells. A couple Gideons against the control and removal heavy matchups, sweepers. And then for some extra bit of removal, we got Deputy of Detention. So 1/3 when enters, exile target non-land permanent and opponent controls, and all other non-land permanents that player controls with the same name. So if your opponent has multiple spells of the same type out, then you can just exile all of them at the same time with Deputy of Detention. And then again, it's a nice high toughness creature. So if we are in a good position to attack with it, then boom, it's dealing 3 damage with our Huatli or high alert. So that's pretty sweet. And yeah, so obviously it's pretty janky, but it certainly works in certain matchups. So let's jump into it and see how we do. Alright, got a match right away. Up against Neda Concoriso. Alright. Sweet, good to go first. Alright, hand looks perfect. So we got Secret Keeper into Fae of Wishes and High Alert. All on curve, and then yeah, hopefully draw into some more juicy stuff. Cyclops and Huatli is kind of what we're hoping for, and some removal, just so we can kind of answer any anything that's particularly dangerous on their side. So Conclave Tribunal, any of that stuff will be pretty sweet in these next couple of draws. We don't really need more than 4 lands, so let's get our creature down. 0/4. What you got? Okay, our opponent reading it. Trying to figure out what we're up to. Probably thinks we're on some kind of a mono blue mill deck. Second main phase land. Let's see how it is. Right, get our Fae of Wishes down. And no attacks with our 0. And we'll definitely shock in this Hallowed Fountain. The question is, do we want a Huatli or High Alert? So far, opponent showing in Gruul, but we'll see if they have a third color. Greenwood Sentinel. There's our Cyclops. I feel like High Alert is probably safer here, so we can just attack in, not have to worry about blocking to preserve our Huatli. Probably not too many main deck answers in Gruul for High Alert, although you never know. People will main deck some really random stuff, especially in these unranked matches. So it looks like one of those Gruul, maybe enchantments type decks. Oaken Farm, Season and Growth, things like that maybe. Spellboards are weird, okay, not too worried about that. And Sentinel has Vigilance, so no reason not to attack in here for 2. Alright, let's force them to make some decisions here on blocks before we reveal our next move. Absolutely want to shock in this Hallowed Fountain and get this Erratic Cyclops online. And we'll have 4-mana open next turn to Conclave Tribunal, or we can just Huatli if we need to gain life for some reason. So yeah, we're in pretty good shape here. Okay, they can't block the Fae of Wishes because they don't have flying. Question is, they can double block the Secret Keeper with both of theirs, but it's not a great trade for them. Yeah, I'm fine with that. So we kill both their creatures. We still have our 4/4 flyer, and we got our Cyclops down, and we have a Conclave Tribunal in hand. So we are just about have this wrapped up. That's it. Alright. Well, let's just Auto pay, make sure it's tapping our lands. Yep. Get rid of that. And we would have trampled over for lethal there anyways, I believe, since the Mastiff only has 2 toughness. Would have hit them for 6 and 4. But just to be sure, we got it. Okay. So we saw the Greenwood Sentinel, we saw the Pack Mastiff, and we saw the Spellgorger Weird. So I think the Aether Gust is going to be pretty good. I think we'll trim the Birth. And, you know, let's bring in Deputy of Detention. I don't think we need to worry too much about the rest of these. And if it goes to game 3, we can always adjust the advantage of winning game 1. Alright. Okay, missing red, but we do have the high alert, so yeah, definitely gonna keep this. Probably better start with the Chaplain just for the life gain. We'll see what kind of removal our opponent has. Okay, missing red. That's good for us. Barkhide. In that case, maybe we'll Fae of Wishes. Although if they attack, that'll be a little suspicious. Then we can get our red source. So yeah, I think we just wanted Chaplain, Hallowed Fountain next turn, and then we can Fabled Passage, search for a red source that'll come into play untapped because it'll be our 4th land. Then we can Erratic Cyclops, and then we can follow that with a high alert. Okay, opponents found their red source. Yep. Season of Growth, so they're that kind of deck. Okay, we drew into our red source anyway. And we don't need more than one since Erratic Cyclops is our only red spell in the entire deck. So probably stick with the Chaplain still, and then follow it up with Steam Vents. And next turn, probably Fabled Passage just to thin the deck a little bit. I guess we'll attack because they're probably going to have some combat tricks for us next turn. We don't want to lose our creatures. I'm fine with taking a couple beats because we got the Cyclops down. It's going to be harder for them to get over that. And then the high alert will, if the Chaplain stays down, we'll start gaining some life off of that. Okay, just a generous stray. So you have to scry and draw. It's a nice little interaction with Season of Growth. Okay, now they got their second red source. We're not blocking here, because they definitely could have an Infuriate or something like that. And we don't want to lose our Chaplain until we have the opportunity to gain 3 life from assigning combat damage according to its toughness. Our opponent taking their time here. I'm guessing they are maybe holding on to a spell. Still might be worth casting on their end. Spin the deck. Don't think it really matters what we get. We have more islands, so we'll grab an island just because. Let's attack and see if this draws out something on the generous stray. They do have something that are saving it. I think the main thing is just keeping our Cyclops alive. Our life total still nice and healthy, so we're not too worried about losing the Chaplain just yet. Just kind of want to get the tricks out of their hand when it's advantageous to us. Ember Holler doesn't do much against us. Chaplain at 3 toughness is the lowest. We do have Hushbringer in the sideboard, but there's no reason to bring it in this matchup. So, yeah, not worried about Ember Haulers. And next one we can High Alert plus Temple of Enlightenment, get a scry. Okay, no attacks. So on a Wayfinder, so they just tutor up, well not tutor, but they get to fix their next draw. Look at the top 4 and put a creature or land. They have plenty of land, so I'm sure they're just looking for a creature. Aggressive Mammoth, that's a good one. And they're missing a green source to actually cast it, though. Oh, they bottom it, so maybe they already have one in hand. Deputy. That's pretty good. Do we attack with our Daybreak Chaplain? Yeah, I think so. Why not? Could also consider Deputy of Detentioning the Season of Growth, so they don't get the card draw. They can kill the Chaplain, but I think I'm fine if they want to do that in combat. I'll at least gain the life out of it instead of waiting for them to have maybe like a Domri's ambush or something like that. And next turn we could Deputy plus something else, depending on what we draw. Temple can kind of help us set up. Okay, they're going to show trade with the Barkite Troll. I think if I were them, I'd just be more interested in trading off with. Okay, so that's 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's 6 toughness. I want to get the troll out of the way first. And I could finish it off with Ember Holler since it just costs 1. So yeah, they prevent the damage from the Chaplain. We don't gain the life because it's not healing damage. And they get our Cyclops off the board, so not completely terrible from them, but I think we just want another Cyclops if we can. But they lost their entire board, and we still have 2 creatures on the in play, plus a Deputy in hand. And I think the Season Growth is the only thing that's going to get them back into it, so I think we'll Deputy that next turn. So now they've got a couple creatures in play. They can double block and kill my Chaplain. The Chaplain only kills 1, so that's not great for us. Huatli is a good one. Deputy, get that Season Growth out of here. If they've got a spell, they should probably play it. And then help us inform our attacks. But I think we're just going to go with the Fae of Wishes. And keep the Chaplain back on defense. I don't know if we want to risk running Huatli out there. I think we'll just Hallowed Fountain and then save Huatli for backup. In case they do find an answer for a High Alert. So on paper we have good blocks, but then if they attack in, you know, they've got the Season of Growth, so that tells us they've got some ways to target their creatures. We have yet to see any of those, so I don't know if they're more enchantment-based targeting spells or actual instance. So now we're interested in blocking here. We're going to do more damage on on the attacks. So if they want to attack in, just to get in a couple points of damage. We've got the Huatli in case they punch through for too much. We can get a little breathing room off of that. As it stands, we'd gained 4 life because of the Fae of Wishes 4 toughness. Growth cycle, sure. Hit me for 7. 8. Okay, 1 card in hand. What you got? And a shock. Okay, hit me for 10. No problem. So they can chump block with the Sentinel. We're gaining 3 life off the Chaplain. Gonna hit them for 7. We'll Huatli gain some life, just to give us some more breathing room so they don't string together any card draw or anything like that. We'll gain 4 more, go back to 15. Get the Ox back on defense. Alright, should be game. One card in hand, what you got? You gonna kill my Ox? Get in for those last points of damage. Buff it up. Yep, do it what, one more time? If they kill Huatli, that's fine. We still have our high alert. They're just going to go face. Sure. We will take it. I don't think you can do 15 here. Infuriate. Yep, they do have the Infuriate. So they get 6 points. So they could have gotten in for 1 more. Still have 2 men open for another activation. Right, good game, that was fun. And a negative 13. Alright. Alright, there you guys have it. It's a fun little janky kind of aggro list. So yeah, I've always wanted to build around Erratic Cyclops. You know, casting big X instant and sorcery spells just seems like it's not the best way to go. But then we've got High Alert and Huatli and Gauntlets of Light all in standard at the same time. And so it basically makes the Cyclops an 8/8 for 4 so with Trample, and that's pretty sweet. So yeah, hope you guys give this one a try if you're feeling like you're up to some Jeskai Jank. And yeah, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.